With just 2 weeks to go in the NHL season, the Presidents Trophy race is as close as I've ever seen it. With 7 different NHL teams a couple of points from each other in the standings, these last couple of weeks are going to be so influential to the playoffs. And today we're going to be going down through the Presidents Trophy race, seeing which teams have the best chances of getting that #1 spot, how the seeding could affect the playoffs, as well as my predictions for the teams most likely to get that #1 spot. So make sure you watch till the end as we go through my full predictions, as well as the complete breakdown to see which teams are most likely to get that #1 spot, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content as we lead up to the playoffs this year. But I really want to break down this Presidents Trophy race in detail because it is fascinating. Last year, we saw Boston dominate and really nobody was going to be able to catch them whatsoever. But this year, pretty much everybody is between a couple points of each other in that top 7. And there's so many different possibilities that will change the outcome of the playoffs. Now, even though there are a couple of outside options that if they go on a really hot streak could maybe get the top spot like Edmonton and Winnipeg, really it will come down to the top 7 teams. That being the Vancouver Canucks, the New York Rangers, the Florida Panthers, the Colorado Avalanche, Carolina Hurricanes, Dallas Stars, and finally the Boston Bruins. You really get a great idea of just how close this race is with this graphic the NHL put up on Monday. Who will win the 2024 Presidents Trophy? And you can see all these teams are just so incredibly close and pretty close as well in the games played. Everyone in that 71 to 72 game range. And it's just really wild to look at the NHL standings right now and see just how close the Presidents Trophy race is when you look at especially the 7 teams here and how they've done recently. Really, Florida is the only one that's kind of been so-so. They've been 5-4-1 over the last 10, but most of these teams have been really positive in terms of getting points over the last 10, producing, getting wins, and that's what makes this whole race extremely scary. There are so many different possibilities, and pretty much anybody could win here. And personally, I love that this race is so close. I think it speaks to the parity of the NHL this year that we can have so many teams out there in every single division being in the race for the Presidents Trophy. It's amazing. But now we're going to go through each of these top 7 teams, seeing their strength of schedule, seeing what they have remaining, how many home games they have remaining, to see who is most likely to get the win in the end. Now, we can already get a little bit of idea of which teams might be favorites in this category just by how they played in the month of March. You can see Carolina, Colorado in the top 2 teams in March so far. We also got other teams in the mix like Dallas in there, Vancouver in there, the Rangers in there too. Everybody's been playing pretty well. But especially Carolina and Colorado have been above the pack, both getting 9 wins, one more than anybody else. But now I wanted to go through and share my predictions with you guys from 7 to #1, the teams that I think are the most likely to get that Presidents Trophy and least likely to get it in the end. We're going to be sharing as well the strength of schedule, the amount of home games remaining to give you guys all the info you need. Now we're going to start with least likely to most likely here, and we're going to start out at number 7, this team that I think is the least likely to get the Presidents Trophy this year, and it's somewhat to do with just how they performed recently and just the situation that they have going forward. And to me at number 7, by far the least likely team to get the Presidents Trophy is actually going to be the Boston Bruins. Now, it's for a lot of different factors. The Bruins have been kind of meh over the past month or so, but you also look at what they have ahead. They have 10 games left, and they're kind of at a games played disadvantage there. But you also combine it with the strength of schedule. They are, according to Tankathon, the worst remaining schedule in the league. A lot of tough matchups, and in terms of the last 10 games, only 3 of them are at home. Now, even though the Bruins aren't slouches away from home, being 18-7-9, they have 5 less regulation wins, and I think that will play a part too. You also consider, again, the strength of schedule, the worst remaining schedule. They don't have a lot of easy opponents. They play the Sens once, the Penguins once, and those are their 2 easiest opponents. Meanwhile, they have to play Florida twice, the Canes twice, the Preds, and the Lightning once. To me, there are going to be some tough matchups here, and Boston, I think, is kind of going to be average down the stretch. Now, moving on to number 6, and the second least likely team to win the Presidents Trophy, I'm actually going to go with the Vancouver Canucks here. Now, I am recording this on Monday afternoon, so the Canucks could win against the Kings, but that wouldn't really change my predictions too much. They would have 10 games left, but when you look at the Canucks and what they have going forward, it's fine, it's okay, but I just feel like with Thatcher Demko being out for likely the rest of the regular season, or at least close to it, that will eventually come back to bite Vancouver's Presidents Trophy chances. Though, I think considering their history of the Presidents Trophy, I think they're fine with that. As of Monday, they're 17th in strength of schedule, so about the average in the NHL. And in terms of home games, as of right now, they have 6 out of their last 11 at home, which is okay. It's fine. But I think for Vancouver, again, that goaltending difference is going to be pretty massive. But I think for the Canucks, it's okay to get that spot. I think it's okay to face the first wild card. A Vancouver-Nashville series would be pretty wild. But even though Nashville's been streaking as of late, I do think Vancouver stands a pretty good chance in that series to go far and to get past them and go on to the second round. So for the Canucks, even though I don't think they'll get the Presidents Trophy, I think resting Thatcher Demko and just being in a good position come playoff time will be the biggest necessity and the biggest thing for them going forward. Now going on to number 5 and the team around the middle of the range in the President's Trophy favorites. And I'm going to go with my favorite team here in the Dallas Stars, 97 points in 72 games. And I think the Stars have an outside chance to get it done. It would take a lot, especially within their division, the Colorado Avalanche, hopefully slumping for the Stars to make this happen. But there are a few factors going for them. For one, Jake Onger has been incredible as of late. His last 3 games especially have been amazing, which is really the biggest great sign heading into the playoffs. Even if they don't get the President's Trophy, that to me was the most important thing for them. In terms of the strength for schedule, actually, they're one of the better teams in this race, 24 out of 32, and you want to be as farther back as possible. A lot of easy opponents. They do face the Avs, and that could be interesting there. And in terms of the home games, they have 5 out of the remaining 10 at home, so about the average, but they're good at both home and away, so it really doesn't affect that much in my opinion. But I think for the Stars, even though they're hot, even though they're in a good position, I don't think they're in the best position necessarily to get it. I think they could get pretty close, maybe finishing in that top 5, but might be just behind. And that's fine with me. I don't want the President's Trophy curse. I would do without it. Next up at number 4, we're going to start to get into the teams that I think have a real, genuine shot at the President's Trophy this year. And at number 4, I'm going to go with the Florida Panthers. Now, there are some things going for them and against them. Going for them is the strength of schedule right now. They're 21 out of 32, so kind of more towards the average, but still in the favorable section. And in terms of the remaining games, they have 7 out of their last 11 at home. And even though they have a better team on the road, I think at home they could still get some pretty big wins there. The only real thing I think keeping them back is the health. We've seen them kind of take some steps back over the past couple of weeks, and they haven't been this dominant team that we maybe expect from them recently. But I do think Florida will kind of turn it around with these last few games remaining and get hot while the playoffs are right around the corner. I don't think they'll get the President's Trophy, but I do think they'll come close and win the Atlantic Division in the end. Now moving on to the big 3 in the President's Trophy race, in my opinion, it actually starts out in the Metro with number 3 in the Carolina Hurricanes, who have been really fascinating over the last 10, 8-1-1. The Jake Gensel edition has been brilliant so far. They have 97 points in 72 games. They're in a pretty good position here. And then you got the strength of schedule as well. They actually have the best schedule out of all of the top 7 teams in this race. With 28 out of 32, they're in an incredible position to get some big wins. And you also look at their last remaining games too. They have 4 out of their 10 games at home, but Carolina's kind of been a pretty even team throughout this year, so I don't think it'll be much of a problem. Considering the teams that they're facing and just how much they're rolling, I don't think it's going to stop Carolina too much. Out of all these teams, I could see Carolina making a great run here and getting right next to the President's Trophy, if not winning it. Now going on to number 2, and next up we're going to go to another Metro team, and a team that I think just slightly has a better chance of getting the President's Trophy, and that's actually the New York Rangers. Now, it's razor thin in terms of the margins here. With the Rangers, they have the 25th schedule out of 32, so what would be 7th best schedule in the league, right behind Carolina. And you also look at the remaining games, they have 7 out of their last 11 at home, and they've been a brilliant home team this year. You also consider the Rangers, they have 1 more point than the Canes with 1 less game played, and that can also, with again those razor thin margins, really come into play. And they've also been incredible as of late, 7-3 over the last 10, a 2-game winning streak. The Rangers are right up there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them get it done. With the schedule they have a great chance here. And you consider how many players are starting to get hot for them. Igor Shesterkin being one of the best goaltenders, if not the best in the league over the past couple of months, and that might be enough to carry them to the number 1 spot. But next up we go on to, in my opinion, the most likely team to get that number 1 spot, the President's Trophy this year. And a lot of this is combined with how hot they've been, how good of a unit they have been recently, and just how many home games they have remaining. You could probably guess who I'm going to pick in this spot, but at number 1, I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche here. Now, here's the thing. Colorado's strength of schedule-wise is actually not in the greatest position. They have the 5th hardest schedule in the league, but considering how good they've been, how many home games they have remaining, I don't think it'll be much of a factor. They have 7 out of their last 11 games at home, and you also consider how they played recently. 9 straight wins, 9-1-0 over their last 10. This is a Colorado team that is absolutely rolling, and you especially considering the Nathan MacKinnon point streak, that's already going to put them in a good position in all the home games they'll play this year, and just considering how much of a unit they played recently, how good, how consistent they have been, to me, the Avs have the best chance to do it. And they're right there, 97 points in 71 games. Again, I think those margins are going to be extremely close, but considering how good they've been, especially recently, that's going to put them over the top. The momentum is going to be pretty huge come playoff time. So with my predictions, it definitely changes the playoffs a lot. You'd have a team like Colorado likely facing off against the Vegas Golden Knights. You'd have the Rangers maybe facing the Flyers instead, with the Canes maybe facing the Washington Capitals, with the Capitals maybe getting that 3rd spot in the Metro. You also look at the Atlantic, where Florida will maybe face a team like, I don't even know, the Tampa Bay Lightning. That playoff match would be absolutely incredible. You got the Stars likely facing off of the Jets, the Canucks probably facing off against a team like the Nashville Predators. That series would be awesome. And then you got the Boston Bruins likely versus the Leafs. So with these predictions, we got quite a few amazing first round matchups to look forward to. But this is the thing, is that you could pick any of these 7 teams and you can have an argument as to why they would win the President's Trophy. That's what makes this race so incredible, and it's really developed over really the past week, becoming as good as it has been, with teams like the Stars, the Avs really bringing it and winning a ton of games recently. It has opened the field for the President's Trophy this year, and with a couple weeks remaining, we have an amazing storyline to keep track of, which isn't always a guaranteed thing in the NHL. But I want to know in the comments down below, what did you guys think of my predictions? What do you think of the President's Trophy race this year? What are your predictions for the top 7? How do you see every team finishing? And who do you see ultimately winning the President's Trophy in the end? Let me know all your thoughts down below. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and share the video, share the President's Trophy predictions with every hockey fan you know online. And of course, click on this card for all my hockey rankings out there into one playlist for you to watch at your leisure. And I will see you in the next one. I hope you have a great hockey day and enjoy the video today, and goodbye.